All right, grade 7. So let's take a look at assignment 1 for the first term now, building a robot titan in Tinkercad. So let's get started. So let's just take a look at the scope for this assignment. So we looked in the previous lesson, or in the previous video, we saw a recap of all of the skills that we've learned in Tinkercad throughout the last 3 weeks. And what we're going to be doing is taking all of those skills and using them to design and create a robot of your own design in Tinkercad using the same skills. So there are some important guidelines to follow, so please listen carefully so that you make sure that you're doing the correct things. I want to make sure everybody's getting the best mark that they can for this assignment, and the best way to do that, of course, is to follow the rubric, and the full rubric for the assessment can be found on Classroom. So let's take a look at some of the details. So first thing is, your robot must have a head, body, 2 arms, and 2 legs. Now, I should mention here that it doesn't need to be a robot, okay? It can be anything so long as it does have a body, head, 2 arms, and 2 legs. It also needs to be noted that there will be marks for neatness as well as creativity and detail. So everything that I've been showing you about getting things aligned and making sure that things are symmetrical and that things are centered and making sure that they're in the right place and making sure that they're the right size, all of that is going to be assessed. How neat your robot looks, how creative it is, and how much detail you have put in. Your robot must also be symmetrical, as I've stated. It must look balanced, it must look neat, it must look tidy. So take your time and make sure that you give it your absolute best. Also remember some of the skills that we've learned so far, such as scaling, rotating, beveling edges, duplicating and mirroring objects also come in very handy for limbs, raising objects, cutting holes, changing object colors, and so much more. All of these skills can be used in this project to make your robot as creative and as detailed as possible. So let's take a look at some examples of these robots now. So the first one that I want to show you is this is the first one that I made as a prototype. You can tell it's not super great. Okay, like these arms are a little flimsy, and I mean these hands don't really make sense, and the you know, they're maybe not aligned so well. You know, they're a little bit off to the side, and it's, you know, it's okay. I wouldn't give this a failing grade. This would be a pass, but we can take this a little bit further, you know. And you can see over here I've got a cutout in the top. That's great. But I think that we can take this a little bit further. We can make this a little bit more detailed. So let's just take a look at the next robot that I made after this one, was this one, which I put a little bit more time and effort into. And you can see I added some shoulder joints. And what I did was I took 2 spheres and then I used the whole cylinder. Basically, I did this. I brought in a sphere and then I used the whole cylinder to just like cut out a hole like that, and then I just selected both of them and grouped them so that I had somewhat of a claw for my robot to use, and then I just, you know, shape, size, scaled that appropriately, and then just, you know, raised it into place, etc. So I'll just trash that. So you can see how you can very easily use all the skills that I've been showing you to make something quite detailed and quite complicated. And you can see down here as well, even just the shoes, these shoes or these feet started as round roofs, and then I added a sphere to the end of them and I made them the same color and grouped them together. So you can do that. Then just before I end, I just want to show you one more example of a design that you can go with, which is this one over here. And you can see this one's got a lot more detail than the previous ones. I think this one's maybe as much detail, I'd say, but with this one you can see I've really gone and put a lot of effort and work into making this as neat and symmetrical as possible. If you take a look, each of these arms and the limbs and everything is more or less in the same relative place as it is in the other one. Maybe these limbs are a little bit off, but you see there I can move that out, and then now that looks much more perfect. You know, I wouldn't want one limb over here and then one limb over here, because that doesn't look good, that doesn't look right. I want you to take a little bit of time and just effort and just make sure that it's looking nice and neat and symmetrical. And just another thing I want to show you here, as you can see with these claws, I did the same thing with the whole cut out. But something that's worth noting is what you might find that you're doing is, let's just bear with me for a second. I'm actually just going to select and delete all of this arm over here. What you might end up doing, and what I'd recommend that you do, is that you know, maybe over here, say, we'd maybe start by building the arm, and then we can, you know, duplicate this and then lower it down so that it's in the right place. You know, we can save time by doing actions like that. But one really great action that we can do that saves us a lot of time is to just build one arm and then use the duplicate and the mirror function. So I'm going to select this arm and then I'm going to duplicate it. And then after duplicating it, I'm going to move it over so that it's on the other side. And then watch this. I'm going to mirror it so that the shoulder joint flips to the other side. And there we go. Now it's perfectly mirrored and I can just bring it into place. And there we go. There's the other arm perfectly replicated. You can do that with any object on your on your robot. If you say only want to make one half of the face and then duplicate it and put it on the other side, that's a really good way to do that. That's what I did when I made these feet, is I only had one set of feet and then I just duplicated them, moved them over, mirrored them, and then put them back into place. And it worked perfectly. So that is your assignment 1. So just follow the guidelines that I've given you, follow the rubric that I've given you, and yeah, just take your time with it. You've got the whole week to do it. You know, maybe do it in a couple of sessions, put a little bit of extra effort in, and see what you can come up with. So that's it for today. Take good care of yourselves, and I'll speak to you again soon.